Nice to meet everybody. Judy, thank you for inviting us to speak to you all about housing and how that might be something that is achievable for all of your families. I have a PowerPoint presentation. I'm going to share that with you now. All right, well, thank you very much. As Judy said, I am with the Irvine Community Land Trust. We are a nonprofit organization that is based in the city of Irvine, but we do work county-wide. We have a very specific mission as a land trust. We are out there to create permanently affordable housing. That is housing that never goes to market. And we do that in a very specific way. And we also look to achieve not only permanent affordable housing, but housing that is of a quality that is expected by the respective communities under which we are operating. So for us, it's a lot of different projects and a lot of different formats. This is a picture of one of them where we have been acquiring units and we've been rehabilitating them and then we've been renting them out. We as an organization look to do three things. We look to create quality housing through our construction efforts. We look to create housing that is available for all income groups that we serve. And a lot of people don't know what we serve, but we serve 4 different income groups. And it's quite surprising when people hear that. We serve what's known as extremely low income or almost poverty level. We serve very low income, which is about half of the county median income. We serve lower income families that are at about 80%. And those 3 categories are our rental residents. And then we have a very specific niche. We also do home ownership that's affordable. And it is also permanently affordable home ownership. But in that particular niche, because it's so expensive to build in Orange County, we are serving what's called moderate income families. And those are families that are making well over the median in the county, but still can't afford to buy an average price home in Orange County, which now, according to the news, has hit $1 million. Shocking to me. We do this by 3 different avenues. First, we're a landowner. We build on the land that we own, but we never sell the land. We only ground lease it. We have ongoing communications with our renters or our home buyers, and we keep that going through the entire life of the relationship. We never go away. And we do one other important thing, which is we invest in our communities. So our funding goes permanently into our projects. We do fundraising like any nonprofit organization. And we actually do some work in terms of donations of assets, which I'll talk about briefly as I go through the presentation. Organizationally, we are a very streamlined group. We have a 7-member board right now, and we have staff, and staff is all of 2 people. So we try and run as efficiently as possible, and I'm one of the 2. Our board is currently made up of residents and representatives of the Orange County community, but since we were based in Irvine when we started, the majority of our board is representative of people who have background in housing or legislation in Irvine. So we're fortunate to have the mayor of the city of Irvine, Farrah Khan, on our board. Our current board chair is Anthony Kuo. He is also a city council member. He was a planning commissioner, and he was on our board when he was a planning commissioner. We have Ryan A., who is a developer, works for a company called City Ventures. We have Mike Stockstill. He's retired, and he used to be in media and public relations. Nancy Donnelly has, many of you may know, been an advocate for adults with developmental disabilities and run the different educational institutions here in Orange County. Leon Napper is our board member that he actually builds housing. And Patrick Strader is an attorney who is very familiar with the development of affordable housing just generally. Our mission is really to, as I said, create affordable housing that is permanently affordable. We have 3 different categories, though. I mentioned rental and home ownership, but we also deal with a special needs mission base, and that is something that I think is of interest to all of you. Our home ownership goals, as I said, we try and make our homes affordable to people who are making up to 120% of area median income for the county. All of our homes are developed under homeowner associations, and we do that to create a sense of community, number one, but second, to help everybody understand how it is to live in a county such as Orange, where having an opportunity to connect with your larger area, it can be a benefit to you. And then particularly for the city of Irvine, one of our largest missions is to make sure that when we build anything, it looks like a market rate project. We don't make it cheap. We make it as expensive as a market rate project is and would sell for normally. It's just that we sell it at an affordable price. On our rental projects, again, I mentioned that we serve households that are making up to 80% of area median income. But here where we vary is in the kind of housing that we create. Our homes are no smaller than 2 bedrooms, but our apartments go down to 1 bedroom. However, we don't do single occupancy units. So that is the one area where I know people ask me, are we ever going to do that? And our board has felt that it's more important to build 1, 2, and 3 bedroom units than to build a studio unit. All of our homes are typical of market rate apartments. We have one big difference in all of our projects, and that's that we make them all, every single unit is accessible because we put elevators on all of our projects so that everybody on every level of an apartment will have an accessible unit that they can live in, and they are not limited to just being on the ground floor. For our special needs housing, we have 3 categories of special needs: those that are developmentally disabled, those that are at risk of homelessness, and we do have a special needs category for veterans. That is been, for us, the biggest thing that we've attempted to do on our apartments, where we have not made them 100% one of these categories, but we've included all 3 categories in all of our projects. So our most recent project, which I'll talk about, is an example of how we've done this. We do prioritize extremely low to very low, so we don't necessarily go up to the highest income level. We do go as low as absolutely possible. And we make sure that when we include our project designs as having 1, 2, and 3 bedrooms, that they're also going to be not only adaptable, but in most cases, they are going to actually already be configured for somebody with not just a developmental disability, but a physical disability. Because we found a lot of times that our residents may have both disabilities. So we just want to make sure that we never preclude anybody from having that chance to move into one of our projects. Our biggest thing is that we also do provide the typical amenities that are found in an Orange County apartment complex that's a newer construction. So a clubhouse, a pool, recreation areas. Again, as I said, we provide the elevators, but on top of all of that, we do provide services. And we do make sure that our services are coordinated specifically for the populations that we're serving. So with veterans, we make sure that there's a connection with the VA so that a VA representative can come and talk to our residents and make sure that they're settling in well and their needs are being met. For households that are homeless or at risk of it, we have a nonprofit organization that we work with to make sure that those households are not going to come to our project and then for whatever reason have to leave because they just have lost a job again or whatever. We do a lot of coordinating to make sure that people who come to our project stay. For our developmentally disabled population, we actually partner with an organization which is UCP of LA and Ventura County. They've recently changed their name to Momentum. But we do an agreement with them to serve all the residents that have a developmental disability in every single project. So it's a little bit of a twist for those of you who are thinking, I want to move my child or adult child into one of your units. If you do that, you need to talk to us, because you may need to give up the service provider that you're working with, because we have one service provider that's providing services for the entire project. And we found that we needed to do that because of a lack of consistency with the way our residents were being treated. Our projects are right now solely in Irvine, although we are starting to move outside the city. Again, we started in Irvine. Our very first project was called Allegra Apartments. It had 104 units in it. We started out in this particular case with getting housing for residents that were making between 30 and 50% of the area median income. And again, just like I said, we provided, all the amenities that are typically found in an apartment project down in South County. More importantly, this was the first project where we, in the middle of the project, decided that we were going to start addressing special needs populations. And we set aside some units for veterans, and we set aside 2 units as a start for adults with disabilities.
My meeting, okay?
Somebody's going to have to mute themselves because I'm echoing. I'm sorry. I wanted you to see where our rents were on these projects. 667 for a 1-bedroom, 800 for a 2-bedroom, 900 for a 3, and a little over $1,000 for a 4-bedroom unit. That's how we started the project. We try and keep these units as affordable and down to these levels as absolutely possible. It has been a challenge for our special needs populations. So what we've done in this particular project is we took the 2-bedroom unit and asked people to be roommates and split the rent. So the rent was down to $400 a piece. And it has been successful. We have 4 residents right now that have been in this project ever since it opened in 2015. Our Parkdarian project is over by the John Wayne Airport. This again is another project that has units that are set aside for families earning 30%. In this case, we went a little bit higher, up to 60%. That was because the cost of construction was just getting to be beyond what we could manage to finance. We have 25 1-bedroom, 26 2-bedroom, 29 3-bedroom units, same kind of amenities, same kind of rent structure, except for the 3-bedroom units. And that was because we needed to find a way to finance it. And so the 3-bedroom unit, we priced it at the 60% margin instead of at the 50%, which is why you see such a dramatic jump in rents from $667 for a 1-bedroom all the way up to $1,851 for a 3-bedroom. Our Salerno project is our most recent project. It just opened in January of this year. Here we have 80 units. Half of these units are at 30% or poverty level. So we have units in there that are $618 for a 1-bedroom. And we have some units that we were successful in getting at the 3-bedroom level that start rents at $772. It's absolutely phenomenal that were able to accomplish that. Some of the other 3-bedroom units are at about $1,800. But the same kind of amenities, the same kind of program that we offer in all of our other projects we offer here. This one has been our latest project that just opened. We do have an upcoming project that is our first full-blown new construction ownership project called Sage Park. This project is under contract with the city of Irvine. It's 4 acres. Just to give you an order of scale, we're building 68 townhomes here. Our investment in this project is $24 million. We believe when it's all said and done that after we sell the homes, we will be able to generate back in revenue about $6 million that we can use for our next project. So we reinvest any proceeds of sales that we got, but you can see that we're leaving $18 million in the deal, and that's from a tremendous amount of fundraising that we did. All of these projects are going to be permanently affordable. Even the resale of these homes will be restricted. So it is something that we'll be working with all the buyers of these homes. It's going to happen in 2 phases. We think it'll be finished by June, July of 2022, with the first homes opening in January of 2022. We are asking people to find mortgages. We'll work with them on mortgage lenders, but we'll only approve fixed rate mortgages, and the lenders are going to have to work with a land trust, which is a different beast. And right now we've estimated our pricing at $400 and change for a 2-bedroom, up to almost $500,000 for a 4-bedroom unit. These are townhomes. They are located in the city of Irvine off the 133 freeway and Irvine Boulevard. They're accessed from in the Portola Springs neighborhood. And we believe that if people drive down this project when it's finished, they will not be able to tell that it is an affordable for sale project. This is just a very brief overview of what it looks like. So as you can see, the units are spread across. They're all townhomes, 2- and 3-story. There is a community pool, clubhouse. There's green space around. We think it's just a very reasonable design for a townhome project. And as you can see on the picture in the lower right, we are under construction. Actually, we started pouring concrete this last week. So we're hopeful that we're going to meet our schedule of opening our first phase in January of next year. And our first phase is going to include all the condominiums around the clubhouse and the pool, all the way out to the street, which is called Native Spring. So we'll have 32 of those townhomes ready for sale and occupancy in January. I wanted to leave a lot of time for Q&A. So, and I see there have been a lot of comments.
There's a few questions. We'll take a couple now and then we'll go on to Rochelle. So the big question, is there any availability for any of these units?
All of these units on the for sale, all of these units have not been spoken for. The land, we acquired it from the city of Irvine. It actually donated the land to us so that we could build this project, part of the investment of the community. And because of the donation, this land was priced at $11.5 million. So that was a huge donation. The city asked us to do a lottery.
Okay.
So
Okay.
we're doing a lottery.
And how do people apply for the lottery?
So the lottery right now, we have an interest list open on our website. The easiest thing to do is just to go to our website. On the home page of our website, there's a green button that says Sage Park Interest List. You just click on the button, you read through the questions. At the bottom of the questions and answers, there's a form that you fill out. We're only asking for contact information, no financial information at this time.
Okay. And do you have like a quota of each different group? So people with disabilities versus veterans versus, or is it just you're going to pick names and out of the hat?
For this particular project, it's just names out of a hat. There is no quota for any of the special needs groups.
And well, this will be the last questions for you, and then we'll come back after Jack's presentation. Are there, in the apartments that are rental, are there any availability there?
Well, unfortunately, no. The
Okay.
Being what it is, nobody's moving. We are at 100% occupancy.
Okay. Okay. Thank you so much, Mark. You're going to stick around for the panel, I hope. And and next we have Rochelle.
My name is Rochelle Mills. I'm with Innovative Housing Opportunities. I'm the president and CEO. I've been there for about 15 years. We have been around for 45 years. This is our 45th anniversary year. We started as a result of a lawsuit in the city of Irvine. And it was an independent organization that was formed with a group of representatives from city government, from the local community, the faith community, the UC Irvine, and the business community that all work together to find a mutual beneficial means of adding low to moderate income housing into the zoning requirements, which the lawsuit, which Idaho didn't start, but was the precursor to Idaho, is the reason for low to moderate income households being included in housing elements across the state. So the housing element process, which I'm sure some of you have heard that term, that is the process by which local jurisdictions, local cities and counties determine where and how much affordable housing will be located in their jurisdictions. And so we were formed as a result of that. The project that I am showing you right now is a project that we are working on in the city of Santa Ana. We were in Irvine for 43 of our 45 years, and we recently moved to Santa Ana. And this photograph, this was one of the original sketches, but the reason why I love it so much is it shows something that we really are moving towards. And Mark talked about it as well. Mixed income, mixed generation, mixed population housing, where it is really the kind of community that people want to live in and that can be replicated elsewhere. We believe if people start to copy our work, then we're doing something great. Our motto is it starts with housing, and it reflects our belief that high quality, affordable housing is the foundation for healthy, catalytic, and economically vibrant communities where all residents can dream of and reach for new possibilities. What's the difference between Idaho and others? We say we have 6 pillars: comprehensive catalytic development. That includes creative placemaking, meaning we love to make sure that we are looking at the entire community and how we can be creative in developing the housing. Mixed income and mixed populations, as we say, a diversity of incomes, backgrounds, and abilities that encourage personal growth, discourage silos, and promote inclusivity. We believe very strongly in design and art and its ability to uplift communities and celebrate the culture of communities. Integrated services and case management. We tailor them for the populations that we serve. Just as Mark talked about, sometimes you have all kinds of residents, and those services are tailored to the individual residents. It's not one size fits all. Community impact and engagement. We believe very strongly in collaborating with our stakeholders, residents, community members, businesses, the political community, to make sure that we are finding the win-win for all of us. And then authenticity, justice, equity, diversity, inclusion. It's not just a marketing statement for us, it's representative across our leadership, our staffing and board, and our business practices. We make sure as we are looking for architects and developers, partners, and contractors, that we are asking them to live up to the same high standards so that they can show that we are building that pipeline of diverse workforce. So examples of Idaho's work. The top left is a project we just finished in the city of Anaheim, El Verano Senior Apartments. One of the things that we started there that we will do on all of our projects is we created an arts committee of community members and residents and electeds. And we always put aside some resources to start creating art. 2/3 of our project is done. And for some reason, the community, our arts committee, loves circles. And so we put the circles in the driveway and in the fence. And now we've got a beautiful green wall that is coming up that was designed in conjunction with Museo, a local museum, and some landscape designers. In the center is our very first project, Woodbridge Manor Apartments in the city of Irvine. To the right of that is Rockwood Apartments. That was our first permanent supportive housing, which is directly adjacent to our El Verano Apartments. And you can see the palm trees directly behind it. That's our Rockwood Apartments. On our bottom left, this was a comprehensive design competition that we entered in and were shortlisted for in Little Tokyo in downtown Los Angeles. What we love about that is it included mixed income housing with cultural, with arts and culture, and a retail component. In the bottom center is a project that we're developing in South Los Angeles that will have 160 units, and it is a mix of very low income up to neighborhood market rate. To the right at the bottom is a project, a small project that we're doing in the city of Riverside, where we are partnering with the community college district for those young people coming out of foster care, but are homeless and in the school system. We are developing housing for them. Now, this is a close-up of the site that I was talking about. On the left side, this is Golden Circle in Santa Ana. It's right in between the 5 and 55 freeways, and that street at the bottom is 4th Street. And if you look at the circles on the right, we are within walking distance. If you're interested in a nice, robust walk, within walking distance of the regional center of Orange County. We are close to 2 parks, walking distance to the zoo. It's really a phenomenal site. And we are fortunate to have been able to acquire 4 contiguous acres. And so we're developing what we think is going to be a wonderful project. This is the vision of the proposed development. On the left, what you're looking at are different components that we wanted to make sure that we included in it. A children's play space, a dog run. It seems like everybody has a pet now post-COVID. And so we are designing that in. Resident gardens, an office patio, a retail patio. This is going to be mixed use, which means we will have office space, retail space, and residential space. And then an active yard so that we can encourage the community, our residents, their guests, and those who are there during the day to really engage in our community. On the right, we are looking at flexible floor plans that allow people the ability to, if we are going to be at home for very much longer, how do you have families that live and work and study in the same location? And so we've created a flexible floor plan that is wheelchair accessible, that allows different people to be able to work together in a very small space. This is an image of what we are looking at today. Again, we want to make sure that we are encouraging a mix of ages, income levels, ability levels, and just creating something wonderful that people can enjoy indoors and outdoors. Here's some stats for this project. Let me share with you. Judy, do you still hear the typewriter sound?
You know, we are hearing it off and on. Right now, I don't hear it.
Okay.
Yeah,
Maybe
now I hear it. Maybe it's a paper.
you know, it's probably just when I'm talking.
It's okay.
I do have I was going to say. So what we're looking at is about 12,000 square feet of office space. This project is done in conjunction with another longtime developer, Orange County Community Housing Corporation, and we're considering that we will take the office space and move our headquarters there. We've got 10,000 square feet of leasing and counseling offices. Leasing meaning our property managers, and counseling offices because when you've got a mix of populations, you need lots of spaces for social services, for case management, et cetera. We've got 3,000 square feet of ground floor light retail that could be used as a coffee shop, a bank, an incubator space for to grow businesses. And then we've got 2,000 square feet of community rooms in both buildings. It's a total of 160 units, and 2 primary residential pods. So we've got community space. And when I say community space, it is open for our residents, teaching kitchens, after school classes, yoga classes, etc. But it literally is open to the community to reserve when we are not using it for our own residents. The unit configurations, we've got 41 bedrooms, 56 2 bedrooms, 47 3 bedrooms with 2 bathrooms, and 15 4 bedrooms with 1 bathroom. A manager's unit, an on-site manager's unit in both residential buildings. So each residential building will have 160 units each. Now, in terms of the rent schedule, I wanted to explain the term AMI because you'll hear that a lot when you're talking to affordable housing developers. The area median income, or AMI, is the midpoint of a region's income distribution. So that means, for example, in Orange County, we're looking at the AMIs on the right. Half of the families in that region earn more than that amount. Half of the families earn less than that. So in terms of our resident populations, we are looking at 30% AMI, 40s, 60% AMIs, and 70% AMIs. Normally what we will do is try to keep our rents at 40% or below. But what we have found is that some residents, elders who are downsizing, for example, young people who are coming out of college, will end up ever so slightly outside of that affordability range. And they are they have too much money to move into the new apartments that are coming. Too little money in the affordable apartment, too little money to move into the market rate or to buy a house. So we're raising that income level to help help bridge for those we call the missing middle. But also, as Mark mentioned, because the cost is consistently going up, we have to buoy those rents. But in terms of the graph or the matrix on the right, you will see in our 1 bedrooms, we've got some at $669 per month, and those are the 30% AMI rents. Those would be targeted to those who are living on, what do you call it, Social Security or deeply affordable units. The 40% rents for a 1 bedroom at $909 per month. And then as you, if you take a look at this slide from Dropbox, you'll see all of the rents. They go as high as $2,490 for a 4-bedroom unit. I wanted to make sure if you have any questions on this project in particular, that you reach out to our project manager, Antonio Ramon, or our assistant project manager, Xochitl Medrano. Let me see if I can answer a question that I know is going to come up. How long does it take, or when do you get on these lists? Typically what we will do is, and we are required because of the funding sources, we will notify the community, those who put their names on a wait list several months in advance. And because the interest is so great, there may only be a 2-week window. It is not uncommon for 80 units to have 2,500 people sign up to be on that wait list. So if we were to leave a 3-month or a 1-month wait time, you can only imagine the number of applications that we would take. However, because we will do a carve out of units, meaning we will typically have about 20 to 25% of our units that we carve out. So in this case, if we've got 160 units, we'll set aside 40 units that we will target for special needs, meaning they will be IDD, they may be formerly homeless, seniors, veterans, whatever special needs group that we are looking at. And right now we're looking at a portion of those 40 units going to the regional center consumers. But that doesn't mean that you can only apply for those 40 units. It means that those are set aside for those special needs. But we would also encourage you to get on the wait list of the general list, because you would be able to apply for both of those pools, because it will be by lottery. And so by having that carve out, you're actually getting a second opportunity to move in. And once those spaces are taken, they're pretty much taken for 5 to 10 years. And so it really is, by doing a carve out, we're trying to give the best opportunity to leverage. But I would encourage people all the time, whether you need it now or not, get on a wait list, because the difficulty is when you need to get on the wait list, it will more than likely be taken up. And you typically have 3 opportunities to say, no, take my name off the list and let me try another time. And you just, it's tedious because you're applying, but it's really necessary. We get a lot of phone calls because we're the housing consultant for the regional center. We get phone calls from people and we'll tell them we're getting ready to start leasing up our building. It's good to put your name on it. And they'll tell us usually, you know, we're fine. We've got an apartment, we're fine. At the time that they call us, the apartments are taken and we're not emergency housing people. We're permanent rental, which means the units are only available just before they go to market. But once they open up to the market, they're not available much beyond that window when the units are being marketed and the wait list is open.
Hey, Rochelle, just a couple questions.
Sure.
The one question is, do you have anything available now, or is the next?
We actually do. We've got a couple of senior apartments, so that might not help any of you in the room. But we do have a couple of senior apartments in Anaheim, and I believe we've got a vacancy. We've got some family units in Anaheim. I think 3, maybe 2 bedroom apartments in Anaheim and our Rockwood Apartments, and we may have 1 available in the city of Brea.
Okay, so you've got some sprinkled around. And then is it a single wait list, or is it a wait list per housing, per
wait list per property?
Per facility property. And then I guess the last question is, how do you sign up for the wait list?
Well, if you stay in touch with the regional center, we always make sure to give our leads to the regional center.
Yeah.
And they will let you know in advance of we will tell them like 30 days before we will open the wait list so that you'll know. And we will also, right now we're in entitlements, meaning we're trying to get our permits for this particular project in Golden Circle. But once we get those entitlements, we will put up a Golden Circle website. I'll make sure that we give that information to Jack so that he has it, and I'll send it to you as well. And we will have a wait list, an interest list that you can sign up for so that when it becomes available, we know who to send the notifications to.
As mentioned, I am the Associate Director of Housing at the Regional Center of Orange County. And so I'm going to talk to you a little bit tonight about some different things. I think you heard a lot about the development side and how some of the affordable housing is created in Orange County. So I'm going to talk about a little more on what happens after that affordable housing is created and folks start moving in, and really talk about kind of the service piece. So I can kind of start with a little bit of an overview in terms of the regional center, just for folks who may not know. But we provide services and supports to people with intellectual disabilities, formerly developmental disabilities. There's 21 regional centers statewide, and so we all cover a different area. They serve approximately 360,000 individuals between ages 3 to 99 years. In Orange County, we have just over 22,500 people. 12,000 approximately are adults over the age of 18 years. So just kind of give you an idea of our demographics. The funding for the regional centers is 100% through the state of California, the general fund, and we get funded for services as a yearly allocation. that yearly allocation is really based on the services that are identified in all 360,000 of those individual program plans, or what we call IPPs. So just kind of for interest's sake, for Regional Center of Orange County, our current fiscal allocation is close to about $470 million for services throughout the year. That is much higher this past year, really just due to COVID. So in years past, I think our high, we were about 380 million last year. With COVID, there's been a lot of new expenditures going this year, so that's why that's up so high. We expect that to go down in the next year, just with COVID kind of coming to an end. For eligibility for our services, diagnosis is key, but you must have a diagnosis of a developmental disability, cerebral palsy, epilepsy, or autism. That has to have occurred prior to your 18th birthday, and so that actually means the 18th birthday. It has to be likely to last indefinitely, and it must be severe in nature. So you must have substantial limitations in at least 3 areas, and those areas are learning, receptive and expressive language, mobility, self-care, self-direction, the capacity for independent living, and economic self-sufficiency. One thing that's always good to note is that those disabilities cannot be solely physical, solely psychiatric, or solely learning. You must have the developmental diagnosis as well as the substantial disabilities. So what kind of services are we talking about? Really for tonight's purposes, although we do provide a variety of supports to assist individuals, really we're going to concentrate on just a couple. But as a broader overview, for adults who and children really, for residential group homes, or residential care homes. We have an adult family home agency model, which is kind of a hybrid between a group home and somebody living on their own, where you might have an individual living in a different family's home and receiving support. And you might be able to live in your own home. And by own home, I mean individually, if you have an apartment, if you're on a lease, if you're renting, that's what we want to talk about with living in your own home. For folks who are able to live independently, Regional Center may provide direct supports within their residence to assist in kind of meeting their overall needs and really helping them thrive in that independent setting. One thing that's important to know, and I think you heard a little bit from the other 2 speakers tonight, is that regional centers, we do not own property. We do not, quote unquote, develop affordable housing, but we definitely want to partner with those developers that are in the community already. We understand that they are the experts, we are not. We can be here to assist with the services and finding the individuals who live in some of these great places, but ultimately we want to leave the development to the people who know development. So some of those partnerships, I think, again, you've heard some tonight, but the City of Irvine and the Irvine Community Land Trust, you saw some of the great developments that they've had going on. Innovative housing opportunities, you see some of their exciting developments that are upcoming, as well as some of the things that they have going on right now. We've also had success partnering with the City of Anaheim and the Anaheim Housing Authority, the City of Santa Ana and the Santa Ana Housing Authority. And then we have kind of a unique location in the City of Costa Mesa. It's a complex known as Harbor Village, and that was actually built upon state land that used to belong to the Fairview Developmental Center. So that's actually owned by the state of California and leased to the Department of General Services, which also is then deeded to the Department of Developmental Services. So the actual whole complex area there has a catch that at least 20% of those units must be occupied by somebody with a developmental disability served by the regional center. So that's a nice little treat for our folks. So if anyone over the age of 18 is kind of interested in living outside of their family home, obviously we want to make sure that the first place they go to is their service coordinator. That really just starts with a discussion on what's going to be in their best interest and really what it is that they're looking for. So we always want to talk to that individual about some of the expectations. They have to be able to reside independently or with a roommate. Here's the big key. They have to be able to afford rent, utilities, groceries, outings, all of those things that everyone else is responsible for living on their own. Our folks are no different. So without some of the great projects that you heard about tonight, really that rental piece is the #1 barrier for just about anyone, regardless of disability. anyone who wants to live on their own independently, the affordability factor is the #1 challenge. So housing vouchers are key. Built-in affordability with some projects is key. Having SSI or work income is always helpful. Having roommates, shared expenses. I think Mark mentioned this in one of his earlier projects with just the 2-bedroom units, sharing the rental costs, sharing the utility costs, sharing the expenses in that living situation, and then really looking to maximize the use of generic resources and generic supports. So once somebody kind of identifies that they're ready to move forward, then the exploration of services will begin. So primarily for those who need minimal assistance, we have something that we call independent living services. And this is really just a category of support that anywhere on average of about 15 to 25 hours per month. Again, that's an average, it's not a guarantee, it's not a minimum or a maximum. Really what this is considered to be a training model. So folks who are highly independent in their overall lives and their overall needs, you might be receiving services like these. It's provided within your own home, so you must be able to live in your own home outside of any group home or license setting. Individual is going to be able to afford their own living expenses and secure their apartment, home, or condo. So again, those housing vouchers or really the affordability built into some of the units that folks live in is kind of the key. Independent living services can be used during a transition period. And so these can be provided in a family home. They can be provided in an individual's own home. Really, it's a transition service, and then it's an ongoing service in somebody's own home. The transition period is really there to help locate affordable housing, secure that housing, setting up bank accounts if need be, identifying any areas of potential need for the future, locating, accessing generic resources, planning for your actual move. Really, we look at these as kind of short-term goals. Once that individual has moved into their own apartment, then we're really looking to address some of those long-term goals and areas of need. But really, that would happen once somebody moves into the community. Independent living services are regulated. So we do have Title 17 of the California Code of Regulations, which is really going to give us the areas which service can be provided under an independent living structure. So folks are going to get help cooking, cleaning, shopping, planning menus and meal preparation, money management, use of public transportation, personal health and hygiene, self-advocacy, independent recreation, use of medical services, home and community safety, and then accessing community resources. So these are the key areas that independent living services can be provided. This will be important in a minute to remember that there's very specific areas in terms of service delivery, and so you will have a very specific individual service plan with that independent living program. So as I mentioned, they're going to develop a training plan specific to each individual that they serve. That's going to describe the goals, all the locations where instruction or support will take place. It's going to have a schedule and plans to basically address their individual objectives. This is where you see maybe service is going to happen 2 to 3 times a week, depending on a person's skill levels and really what their overall needs are. So this is not really meant to be a daily or an hourly or a very intensive service. It's really meant for folks who are doing most things on their own, but they do need support a few times a week to really make sure that they're maintaining their independence. For folks who need a lot of more intensive type services, we have what's known as supported living services. So I mentioned 15 to 20, 25 hours in independent living. With supported living, it can be as little as 1 or 2 hours a day, up to 24 hours a day if somebody needs that type of supervision. Again, this is going to be primarily for individuals who require that daily or hourly support in the community. Supported living services, a little bit different than independent living services. These must be provided within an individual's own home. So these are prohibited from being provided in the home of a family member, a parent, licensed residential care, hospital, and so on. These are non-licensed services, so just understand that piece. They're individually designed supports to assist somebody live on their own in the community. The individual receiving the services must have control over his or her environment, meaning that they have to have that lease, they have to be able to control their living situation, they have to live outside of a family setting. These are really designed to meet somebody's needs today, but also have the flexibility to change over time. So our goal with all of our services is really to promote independence and over time decrease the amount of support that may be necessary. That does not mean that services will always have to decrease. It just means that every goal is meant to try to lead to a higher level of independence. We always want to maintain you in your home as your need fluctuates, so services could go up or down, really just depending on what's happening in that particular moment in time. Supported living is really there to enhance somebody's quality of life and allow for many more opportunities to integrate them into the community. So that's kind of the big difference between supported living and independent living, where independent living is very goal specific. Supported living is a little more open. Always is regulations. So again, just to mention a couple of things, I mentioned Title 17, but we're also bound by the Welfare and Institutions Code, what we call WIC, or the Lanterman Act. So the Lanterman Act covers different services, but specifically for supported and independent living. This is where we get the regulation piece, where you must be over the age of 18 and be able to demonstrate financial resources for your living expenses. Again, relatives cannot provide that support. We always do have to utilize generic resources. We cannot supplant any of the services offered by any other agency, such as say in-home support services, affordable housing, set-asides, a housing voucher. But that does not mean that we could not fund a temporary rental subsidy, for instance, while somebody is applying and awaiting for affordable housing in one of the units that might have been discussed earlier tonight. I do kind of want to leave on a note where a lot of folks don't always want to understand, but living on your own is really a choice. You can make that choice, but you also have to understand that there's going to be responsibilities in terms of living on your own. You have to have that ability to afford your own expenses. We can only fund for the staffing supports. We want to make sure that folks understand safe and healthy decisions are always encouraged, but those are individual decisions that everyone has to make on their own. Our services are really just there to ensure that you do things and make sure that you are there to be safe, but they cannot be there to make sure you don't make bad decisions. It's more about supporting somebody's level of independence. So that's kind of a big key, is some folks don't understand, okay, I'm living in my own apartment. Why am I allowed to do certain things that aren't necessarily good decisions? Regional Center and all of our service providers will definitely work to make sure that we're guiding you in making those good decisions, but it is up to that individual to take that support and guidance. So again, just kind of a broad overview of the Regional Center. We definitely always want to try to partner with the development teams in the community. As I mentioned, they are the experts there. Where we come in is bringing in the services and the supports and really helping to fill those units. One thing that's good to hear is those units do not come available too often. And I say that's good to hear only because it means that the units that are being built are really being built for a long-term purpose. And so when you hear, in 2015, 4 people moved into a unit in Irvine and they have not left. And we're now in 2021, they're still living in their own homes. And that's what we want to see, is long-term affordability and people having some stability in their lives.